Good afternoon today to our next webinar. We introduce DSS V6, but since we have DSS V7, so we can change and use the DSS V7 for this presentation. The presentation will be almost identical. There is no really big difference. So we are going to show how DSS V7 can work as a virtual machine. So how to configure DSS V7 in VMware virtual machine, which drivers to use. Then we will want to high availability cluster with two only servers that will be 2 6 hosts, and on every host we will run DSS V7. And we will configure today also a bit more than V6. We will configure DSS V7 with active. Okay. Also, we will show the difference. We are going to demonstrate some problems. So we'll make some reboots of DSS V7 machine, and on the end I'm going to reboot the L6 the host. We will not configure fault tolerant today. We are going to configure just a regular HA cluster from VMware. Okay, so after reboot, the machine which is active on the host we are rebooting will be just restarted on the another host. Okay, that's our plan for today. So it's quite a lot. I hope it will take something about 1 hour, because few settings I have already prepared in order to save time. Okay, so let us show the chart how we can configure in the regular situation such a high availability cluster. So at least we need two servers with a VMware host. For example, it can be something else like Xen, but we are presenting VMware today, and we need DSS running on 2 servers configured as a iSCSI failover cluster. Okay, so that's the regular stuff. We need 4 machines. Okay, what we are going to show today, we will have on first server we'll have a VMware ESXi host running, and DSS will be installed as a virtual machine, and the same setup on second server. So we squeeze the number of servers to 2 only, and the servers are also very poor in resources. We'll have only 2 network cards, physical server. In order to configure all the stuff, it is too less, so we will maybe recommend to have 4 network interface ports. Then you have more resources for vMotion. Maybe you can also go to fault tolerant and so on, and you can split the traffic a bit better. But it is also possible to use just 2 ports, and we will show it to you in the minimal configuration. Okay, so first I will show you the chart we have prepared for DSS active configuration. This is a bit different than DSS active, because here we will have at least 2 active volume pairs. So I have shown here 1 block IO volume and then 2 targets on this volume group 00 on the right. On the right side I have also 2 block IO iSCSI volumes and 2 targets, right? And also I have 2 virtual IP. In the past you need 2 virtual IP when you want multipath, but here there is still no multipath. The first volume group, or first, in our case just 1 single volume, will be exported over first virtual IP, and the second and active will be on starting on the node on the left side. So I will call it, let's say, node A or DSS 220, and the second set of volume, or in our case we will show one single volume, will be active on the right side, so DSS 221, and we'll be having another separate virtual IP. So such cluster will show two virtual IPs, and after, under every virtual IP you may have one single target with a single volume, or maybe you may have few targets with few volumes, right? So that's the configuration which we introduce on our website. When we go to our website, then on the front page, on the first page, we have already very short webinar, just maybe 20 minutes webinar explaining as a quick start how to set up active failover. So you can run this and see how it works. So that was the setup, but for our setup today, I was configuring a bit different because the network environment was different IP. So I'm going to show you now okay, our setup, and we are going to configure this today. So we have, as I mentioned already, two servers, two physical servers, right? And on every one we have a ESX. So on ESX we just put here, sorry, okay, I was closing unfortunately. Okay, sorry about it. So on the left side we have ESX with you know, the first card, which is here. It is having IP 192.168.240.50, and on the right side 240.51. okay, and that's the VMNIC 0. okay. The second VMNIC doesn't have VM kernel on the ESX, so don't have the IP from the ESX host. It will have IP from the DSS virtual machine only. So, and because we want to separate replication on the dedicated virtual network interface card, then we will show you how to do it, to split some virtual network cards which are on DSS. So ETH0, ETH1 is here, ETH2 and 3 will be residing on this first physical adapter, and ETH1, which we are going to use for the replication, it will be residing on the second physical adapter. Okay, so that's our setup, and the DSS has a 192.168, 10, 11, 12 and 13 and 220, and we will have a 10, 11, 12 and 13 221. okay, and we have also so-called virtual IPs. As I mentioned, for active on the left side we'll have a one volume active in active state, and on the right side we'll have another volume in active state here. So they will have of course the pair volume on opposite side in passive state. Okay, so we'll have two volumes here and two volumes here. We can have maybe 10 volumes here and 10 volumes here, and then 5 of them will be active on the left side, another 5 will be active on the right side. So that's our goal, and the virtual IP both can be active on the left side. In another situation, both can be active on the right side, or in starting situation, the first virtual IP, which is 192.168.20, because I will be running this on ETH2 and just 100. You see, both are identical on both sides, but this site will be active, and second IP 192.168.30.100 in starting position will have active on the right side. Okay, when we move resources, it can be that the both resources pool are active on the node A, or in a opposite situation both can be active on the node B, or we can have the opposite situation that this will move here and this will move here. But probably this is not recommended, because we want to have the situation at home in normal case. After rebooting, of course, the failover will happen, and this resource pool from the left side will be moved or failover to right side, and then we can click on the move button and get the resources back to opposite side. So I guess this is simple setup. Also, I would like to mention we have the ping nodes, and I have decided to configure 2 ping nodes that will be 192.168.12.50 and the 13.51. So 50 will be residing on the left ESX server, and 51 will be residing on the right side of the cluster, and 12 will be covering the 12 subnet, okay, and the 13 will be covering the 13 subnet here. So please note the storage cards. So I will have the virtual IP on the ETH2 and ETH3. That's the storage access card, are covered by ping nodes. Okay. Good. So let us go to our setup now. Okay. Maybe there is a timeout. Okay, so I will have to reconnect to my console. Okay, when I do not click longer time, then the console's timing out. Okay, so now we have the, as I mentioned, we have prepared 2 virtual machines, but our first step will be installing this. Because installing takes some time, I have decided to install these both, and I will show you just example, the new machine, how to install. So I have 2 hosts here already, and both hosts are configured. Also, I'm going to show you how to configure these, that it will be splitted, that the replication will be splitted on another physical adapter. Okay, so when I go to this virtual machine, and which is installed on this first host, and I go to edit settings, then you will see that the network adapter 1, which is here, and then that's the MAC address, right? You can check the MAC address also on the DSS GUI, right? Look, this is in VM network, and this one is in VM network 2. So I have 2 VM networks selected, right? So that's the case. And how to see it? When I click on host, now I can go to configuration network, and you see that I have the VM network here. So that's the DSS, and I have another VM network here, right? So maybe we want to show how to configure this. So in this case, let us remove it, this temporary. Okay, now you see when I go to these virtual machines, then on this adapter there is empty, because the VM network 2 just disappear, right? So I click on the host again, and I will do add networking, And in this case, we don't need VM kernel, we need the VM network. So I select virtual machine, and I select VM NIC 1, which is the only free NIC right now, because we have 2 cards, as I mentioned, in our server. And I will leave this name VM network 2, or you may put something else. Okay. And that's it. We have the separate switch, which is using this a new NIC, and we have the new VM network, and this VM network will be having this second machine, because now you see this VM network is available. So it was automatically finding, because I was configuring this to VM network 2. When I will just confirm VM network, okay, then when I go to configuration, you see this machine disappeared here. So this DSS V7 is not using this VM network right now, but all ports of DSS V7 are using this VM network. So now everything will go via this physical adapter. But our goal is, as I mentioned, that one of adapter needs to go over another VM network. This is why we can select this here. And that's the way how we do the split, right? And now when I go to network configuration, we see DSS V7, some ports are virtual ports are going using this adapter, and one port is going to use the second adapter. That's the way how we do the split. So on the second side, on the second host, we have exactly same configuration, right? So when I go to summary and edit settings from this virtual machine, okay, I need to click on the virtual machine, then I can go to settings of this machine, right? And you see that we have the same situation. This network adapter is on VM network 2, and you may prove that this is really the case. Here you have the MAC address, which is on the end is 5D46, and when I go to the DSS, because this is switch on, the first is still switch off, I can have a look, and the port ETH1, which I configure for, I'm going to configure for the volume replication, has a 5D46. You see, that's exactly the same port, and that's the way how you can make sure that this is the really the port. So check the MAC address. Good. So I still need to explain the rest. So we are going to use SCSI initiators here. Okay. So our SCSI targets, iSCSI targets, will be in subnet 20 and 30, because that's our virtual IPs. Let me check to our chart. Our virtual IP is 192.168.20.130. So virtual IPs are in subnet here 20 and 30. Okay, so our initiator, our client, needs to be also in subnet 20 and 30, right? And that's the case. 20 and 30. And on the first host, I just put 20, 50, 30, 50. And on the second host, we will just have 2051 and 3051. And my storage initiators, are in the same switch as my target ports. So everything will be within the switch. So the connection will be very fast. Okay, that's the configuration. I will still show you how to edit So also I have a ping node, and the ping node on the first is 1250 and on the second is 1351. That's ping node 2. Okay, so in order to show it, I just go to properties and let me remove some of them. So let me remove the ping node. Sorry, I need to click the remove button. Okay, and let me remove also iSCSI, one of the iSCSI. Okay. We can remove everything. Okay, what is not standard here? So now we will have to configure this one more time. So when I close it, this just disappear. So we go to properties and we need to add. Okay, and this time we add VM kernel, because when we are adding iSCSI initiator, then it is VM kernel. When we are adding a ping node, then also VM kernel, because this VM kernel will have here IP address and will work as a great ping node. Okay, so let us first do ping node. Okay, ping node 1. Okay, then our ping node is 192.168, and on the first node I was putting the ping node from the first storage adapter, so 12, and my first 6 always will have 50 as a last segment, so 255, 255, 255. Okay, that's easy to remember. I don't need to come back to the chart, because this has a kind of logic behind. Okay, add VM kernel, and now let us add initiators. Okay, so I will put, let's say, iSCSI, and I can put 1 or 2, or I can put, let's say, 20, because the my subnet for this is 20. Okay, if I want to use for vMotion, I can also click this here. Okay, so for vMotion I will just select one VM kernel, because the second will be using the same card, so in this case the one is enough. So 192.168, and IP address is 20 for the first one, and our ESX host is 50, so let us put 50. That's great. That's it. So we have a first initiator configured. Now let us add a second initiator. So VM kernel, iSCSI, and let's say 30. Okay. I don't need this because they both using same card, so one is better. 192.168, now subnet 30, and we are on host 50, 255, 255, 255, and 0. Okay, that's it. We can finish this and we can check. So we have the first initiator 2050, second initiator 3050, and we have a ping node 1250. Maybe let us have a look on the chart to see whether everything is okay. So the first ping node is 1250, it's okay, right? And iSCSI targets, so the virtual IP are 20, 100 and 3500, and we just put 20, 50, 30, 50. It's great. Okay, so now network is configured. So on another side, network is configured properly as well. So by meantime, I can already start this virtual machine here. Okay, the machine is starting, and while this machine is starting, finally I will show you how to set up DSS as a virtual machine. Now I use this sequence because this we are saving a lot of time doing this. Okay, so I just need to select any host, maybe first one or maybe second one, doesn't matter really, and I need to select add new virtual machine. Okay, so we can have a typical and then edit settings later on, but we can also decide about some particular setting when we select custom. So that will be, we are able to answer more questions. Okay, I will just put test because I will just delete after installing. Okay, so now the question is where. So we don't started the iSCSI cluster yet, so everything what I have is just a local small disk. Okay, so I'm doing this here, and I can select Linux because our base is Linux, and probably the best settings will be other Linux 64 because we are similar or part of the distribution is Debian, but we have made so many changes that actually the other Linux 64 fits the best here. Okay, we can leave it this default, and oh, I'm a bit surprised because I thought other Linux will give us a bit more memory. So sorry about it. I will select other 26x Linux. Sorry, that's my mistake. So other 2.6x Linux. Okay, that can be default. Yes, my default size I could change it, but my default size is 1 giga memory, and that's very important because if you have 36 something megabyte, it is too less to run our DSS. So 1 giga is a minimum. Great. So here in our setup we see that we have 4 ETH, so ETH 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 NICs. Okay, so now it's time for us to configure 4 NICs, okay, for this virtual machine. And I was mentioning that the drivers are very important. Yes, they are important. So here, please select VMX 3. That's very fast driver in case of if you have 10 giga Ethernet, it will work with the full 10 giga speed, and it will also take advantage of using internal VM switch. Okay, so that's the recommended settings for virtual NIC. Great, we can skip to the next point, and here you have 2 options which are good. You can use LSI Logic SAS adapter. It is probably as fast as a VMware paravirtual adapter, but we have also paravirtual driver inside, so in this case we can use paravirtual driver. Don't use LSI Logic Parallel. This is much too slow, so only these 2 are okay. So we will use VMware paravirtual. Create new virtual disk. Okay, and now our DSS don't need 16 gig, so we just take 2. So please don't exaggerate, and please change it to 2. We can use with thick provision with lazy zero. Okay, that's okay, and this can be default. And yes, we have definition of the new virtual machine, right? So now we need to install operating system on it. How to do it? Insert the CD. And because everything is virtual, so we need just ISO file to simulate CD-ROM, right? So we go to summary of this machine and then edit settings. So we select the virtual CD-ROM drive, and I will not use my client device, I will not use host device, I will use a file. Okay, so we go to browse, and on the local storage I have uploaded a file. Maybe I will show you how to do it. When you go to any host, the first one or the second one, and we go to storage, which is now currently only local storage, and we do right click, then you can browse data store to see what is here. So when you just click on upload file, then you can have the file which you already uploaded, downloaded from internet, and upload here, and you will have the file listed on your root directory in the local store. You can use also special images container if you wish to. Anyway, we have it uploaded already, so now let us go back to the edit settings and let us select the CD-ROM, and we want our ISO file. So here I have our DSS V7 ISO image, which is used for almost everything. You can use it just to install virtual machine. You can use it to for updates, to upload the updates, and if you want, you can decompress here and uncompress here, and also you can prepare your own USB installation stick. And we have also zip file. Maybe zip is easier to manage if you want to decompress. Okay, so that's it. We have the file, and we need to connect and power on. Okay, when we power on the virtual machine, it will boot from this ISO file. Okay, so power on. Here we go to console, and we see that already first screen is starting. We can do memory test, but this is not a physical machine, so probably I don't need to do it. If we have already some updates, you will see more lines here. Then you can select different image temporary, but we have one only. And we can run installer, or we can start live from ISO. But our goal is to install, so we run installer. Okay, when we run installer, then it is loading the operating system, and it will show us the license which we need to confirm. And next we will select the destination drive where we want to put Open-E DSS V7 operating system. The setup here with V6 is identical. Actually, there is no difference. The installer which we will see in V7 is maybe a bit more improved, because there is a new software which is showing less points, so we don't need to click so many times as before. So it's quicker as well. Okay, now it will show us the license. Okay, so we can just confirm, and it is showing us all available drives for this virtual machine. For this virtual machine, we just defined one 2 GB drive, and that's it. So we can rescan back or select the drive. So we can just enter, and it is checking the ISO consistency and is copying the file. After copying the file, DSS is installed already, right? That's it. So you see the process is very short. So now installation is successful, and we can shut down or reboot. When we reboot, the machine will be starting after shutdown. And that's it of installing the virtual machine. But of course, you may be interested to add some. Maybe I will power off this virtual machine. And when I go to summary and settings, then of course, you know, one hard drive, 2 GB is just to booting this virtual machine. So of course you will need some drive for storage. So let's say you can add a hard disk, and you can add, let's say, 16 gig in this case. Of course we will need more, so now you have a virtual hard disk, so when this machine will boot, we'll be able to install volume group and some volumes on this hard disk, right? And also you may have some edit. You can, you know, give more memory if you want. You can also use more CPU. You can also later on change the type, let's say for LSI logic SAS if you want. There is plenty options to edit this. Of course you can also use the different VM network to separate the settings. Okay, I hope that's it. So we don't need this machine anymore. I will delete it from the disk. Okay, we just needed to show how to set up this. So I have set up these two machines same way, and I have it not deleted because I need to configure the network cards. So changing the IP address is with Control Alt N. So sorry, so that's the, I need to click here to be inside. Okay, now Control Alt N, so I can go and edit and change my my IPs, right? Of course it takes time and this is very boring process, so I decided to have these machines installed already and this IP already changed as we need. So on the second is 10, 11, 12, 13, 221, and on the first we have a 10, 11, 12, 13, 220. Okay, but we don't have any logical volumes there. So now let me go to the GUI. Okay, so on both machines I will create the volume group, so everything is empty. Apply, and the same here. So we go configuration, volume groups, and we select available disk. Here you see I have only 500 gig disk from the VMware as a disk for me. Okay, so now let us this 500 gig disk is already, you will see in the setup in the summary. When I go to settings, you see the one disk is 2 gig and another disk is 500 gig. That's the way, that's the why I have 500 disk on my virtual machine. Okay, so both are now preparing the volume group. So I will have VG00 on the left side, and I will have also VG00 on the right side. And we just needed two iSCSI volume on both sides. So let us do it quickly. So new iSCSI volume. Of course, please don't forget, we use it with volume replication. So we can use, let's say, 100 gig for the first volume. Apply. Just create, because we will need to you know, create the target with the unique name on both sides. So this is why I'm just creating a volume, not creating the target automatically. Let us do the same on the node A. Maybe I have forgotten to tell you something. I will show you in a second. Okay, so now please use volume replication, because if you forget, you can change it later on, but then you will need to reinitialize all volumes. Okay, I will show you. So now it's creating. I will show you. Let's say I've forgotten the replication. I can always go to modify and I can add on remove the replication, right? But if you do it, then this replication algorithm will not recognize this as a new from scratch, and it will have to syncing. So it will have to mirroring both volumes to make sure that they are identical. Okay, use volume replication, and the second volume I will create a bit bigger, maybe 200 gig. okay, for volume replication, and the same on my first, okay, 200 gig. I need at least 2 volumes to show advantage of active-active. If I will show active-passive only, then 1 volume is enough. Of course, I can use also more volumes for active passive as well. Here, okay, we have both for volume replication, and here we have both for volume replication as well. I forgotten to show you something, that it is very practical to go to the network interfaces, and on the very first, one of the very first setup, change from DSS to DSS 221 and another DSS 220. So you see, I have it also in the GUI on the top in the tab buttons, and the you can also change the default host name from DSS and the number to, let's say, node B and the number. Please leave the number here. Why? Because it is very practical to have the, or it is required to have the unique host name. So if you have such a random number, then you are sure that the host name is unique in the network. If you will always create node A, node B, maybe you create next cluster, and then you will have 2 host name with the same network, what is dangerous. Okay, so we have these host names. Now let us set up the volume replication properly. So on the primary node, the first volume set, so LV00 will keep in source, and the second I will keep here as destination, because I will have it as source on opposite side. Okay, so let us do the same thing on the node B or node DSS 221. Okay, so I will have the destination here and source here, right? Next new function is host binding. I can bind here, I can bind on the left side. Doesn't really matter. It's matter that I need to enter always the remote IP. Okay, so 192.168 and the remote IP. Here be careful which IP you will enter here, because we are going to replicate using this ETH1, so that will be 192.168.11.220.221, right? So for the replication we decided for subnet L11, okay, and 221 for the second one, and it is asking us for the GUI password. I have a standard factory default as admin. And now connecting, binding 2 nodes together. After binding, I will be able to define my volume replication tasks, and I will be able to start them. I see already some questions, maybe. Thanks. Can the update be run from the update downloader within the web GUI for V6 Lite? Never mind, sorted this out. Okay, so that's great that you sorted out. So if you will have some questions, you can chat, but I see so far not so many questions. Okay, we have the binding step behind us. So next point is replication tasks. So the first you can name mirror 0, or I will just put M0 because I'm quite lazy, and this M0 is just enough for us. Because we have 1 gigabit Ethernet for replication, so the bandwidth is something about 100 megabyte, and we need to use this bandwidth to split for the old replication task. I'm going to have 2 replication tasks, so I have a 100 divided by 2, I can put 50-50. Okay, that's the node A server. Once the task is created, I can start it already. This will be started forever because it's mirror. And I do the same on opposite side. So M1, LV01, LV01. Also I put 50 here. Okay. And create the task. So after creating the task, I just need to start it to mirror the volumes. So the M0 was creating a reverse task here, and M1 is created here, and it was creating, of course, the reverse M1 automatically on node A. So now I'm starting M1, and I can prove already consistency when I'm selecting status and the tasks. So I will have here M0 running, and when I check the status, you see it is consistent because both volumes were created new from scratch. Same story here. I just check the status, both M1, and it is consistent as well. So now next step is exporting these over identical iSCSI targets. So I go to iSCSI target manager, and I need to create the target. So I will not use the default name because in default name there is always the server name inside. So I will remove this button and just remove the server name, and that's it. And I'm happy with such name. Okay. So on the left side, and the same thing on the right side. Okay. So I'm removing this box to edit, and we have the first target set, and we need one more target set. So I click on targets, and target 1, that will be the next one. Okay, and same thing here, targets. Great, we have targets. Now I'm selecting the target 0 in order to export the logical unit with target 0. Because the settings must be identical, I need to copy this SCSI ID number, and logical number SCSI number can be 0. So I plus. Now I'm joining the target. The name of the target is here also in the function rename below with this logical unit LV00. Okay, that's 100 gig, and another one is waiting for me. Okay, so now I go to the second server, and on the second server I will need to paste the SCSI ID. Okay, so I'm not going to use this one. I need to paste in order to have identical settings. So plus. Okay, now we do the same procedure with the target 1. Okay, here we have just alias of this, and the name is IQN 212 and so on. So that's the second logical unit which is waiting to be binded with the target. So we just copy the SCSI ID, then we can join logical unit and target together in order to export this, and we do the same posting the SCSI ID. So I will delete this and I will paste. Done. So we are now going to the next step, which is a failover configuration. So failover configuration is in the setup failover, and we can do the configuration now for both nodes from 1. So we can do the setup from node A, we can do the setup from node B as well. That will be identical. So since this step we will do configuration of the cluster of the both nodes in one GUI, so we will not need to skip between both nodes. First, what we need to do, we need to add path for herbits that is called auxiliary path here. So the path for the replication is already okay. So what I need to do is click add new auxiliary path. That's ETH1 for the replication, and we create this automatically. We want the path for the auxiliary path for heartbeat on the replication because the replication is recommended to have a point-to-point direct connection, so this very reliable connection. And we also want on every storage adapter if possible. So the first storage adapter is in subnet 12, so ETH2, okay, and the second storage adapter is ETH3 on the both nodes. So I just select this, okay, and I'm done with the auxiliary path, so with heartbeat path. And on both nodes it is already configured. Once I'm done on this, I'm doing this on the node B in this case. So they are configured. I can switch to node A, and you see everything is updated automatically. I can continue configuration now on node A, so I need to add my ping nodes. So 192.168, and the first was in subnet 11, sorry, in subnet 12, right, because that's the first storage adapter, and on the first ESX host, which is 50, and one more time on the subnet 13, ETH3, and the ping node is defined on the second ESX host, which is 51. Okay, so let us add one more, 192.168, 13 and 51. Okay, so now we are done with ping nodes. So the last step, we need to define so-called resource pools, which are as a last menu here. So we can, in the resource pool, we need to select the virtual IP. Okay, so the first virtual IP is 192.168, and then we have decided 20 and 100. That was in our chart, and we will have the similar settings on ESX to for initiator to access this target. And first virtual IP is on subnet 12. This is on ETH2, okay, and net mask just 255 or 24 if some people need prefer. So we are adding on the node A, we defined the virtual IP in resource pool, and also we will also select the which iSCSI targets belongs to this pool. Because we have only two targets, so we have one iSCSI target belonging to pool on node A, another one on node B. So I'm switching to targets, and I'm adding target 0 here. Okay, so that was definition of the resource pool on node A. Now, if we want active, then we need to define another resource pool on node B. As we will need active passive only, we will never define resource pool on the second node. We'll have on a resource pool only on one node. It can be on node A or it can be on node B. So now we select the second virtual IP, maybe I mentioned if you want multipath, so on the resource pool on node A, you will have 2 virtual IPs for multipath, and also you may have multipath for the resource pool on node B, and you can have also 2 virtual IPs here. In such case, you will have the 2 virtual IPs to access first resource pool and 2 virtual IPs to access another resource pool, right? But we are not using multipath today, so will be a bit less. So 192.168, and now the second virtual IP is 3100. Okay, and 3100, and now ETH3. Okay, net mask. Add. If you have any type failure here, then you may have some error messages starting the cluster, and sometimes you may see the problem only after starting the cluster when you are testing the cluster. I will show you now. So still we need to add the target. Okay, iSCSI resources, so we are clicking here and we add the second target. We don't have more, and that was actually the last step of configuring iSCSI active cluster. Now the last step will be starting the cluster. Okay, you will see that all changes are also on the node B at the same time, because both nodes are talking each other and they are replacing the synchronizing the configuration. Okay, so everything is synchronized also there. So now we can go scroll to up and we can start the cluster already. Okay, so I'm starting the cluster now, and also I want to point to you, I was preparing the 2 pings which are pinging the both virtual IPs. Okay, we see it starting. So we are pinging both virtual IPs, and then we will see when the cluster is started, then the virtual IP are showing up. So 192.168.20.100 and here 30.100, they start to answer. So when I stop the cluster, then of course the virtual IP will stop to answer. So I'm showing this to you in order to show you that the virtual IP is active only when the cluster is up and running. When the cluster is stopped, virtual IP are not active anymore, and if you want to access resources, you have to use the physical IPs of every node, right? Then you can access the targets like single nodes. So now no access, destination not reachable. Okay, so I'm starting this again. And after starting the cluster, I will have ready high available targets, actually 2 targets, which I can use for my VMware machines in ESXi. Okay, and it will working very similar, like I will have the separate physical servers. Of course, you know, you are now sharing resources, so the separate servers may give you more power, but in small installations the power of the single server can be enough to run host and run the storage. Okay, so now everything is started, and then we can go to ESXi again. So now because we want HA cluster, we can move hosts to a to a cluster, but in order to move them to the cluster, we need to define the new cluster as well first. So I will select new cluster, just test, okay, and we will turn on HA and DRS for motion. Everything is on. We will select the manual, then we can have the more decision how to set up. Here we can select default, okay, and it is in our case, because I don't have much resources, I can select disable, and it will allow me to power on the virtual machine after disaster on the second node, even there is not enough resources. Also, I'm selecting disable. Disk I can leave default, this I can leave default. Both PC I have, both servers are identical, so I don't need any compatibility mode. This I can leave default. So now I have a cluster already defined. So in order to make HA, I need to move both hosts. So I click and move to the cluster. And now I get the question whether I want this host to be having the virtual machine in HA. No, I don't want. I want this, that this DSS is working only on this host and the second DSS is working on second host. This is why I will create a new pool, and then it will the pool will be giving me option that the first DSS will stay within the first host, right? That's the way how it works. Now I have this first DSS will be belonging to first host. Okay, I do the same thing with the second host. So I'm moving this host to the test cluster. Okay, the same, I will create the pool. There are also other way to keep the machine within the host, but such a pool is very practical. Okay, so you see both DSS are now fixed with the hosts, and we need a virtual machine which will be in the cluster, right? So once will be on the host A running on host 50, once on host 51, we will be able to migrate, and when the host running on 50 and 50 host disappear, the machine will be rebooted on another host. So that's the HA definition of VMware. You know, in case of DSS, this is on the fault tolerant level, because any reboot of the machine will keep the resources without any interrupt. Okay, so we have two virtual IPs started, so we need to enable initiator, right, on both. So we need to go to storage adapters, and I have iSCSI already. When you have a new from scratch, you will need to add button to have the iSCSI software initiator, right? So now we just go to properties, and in the network resource we will select both iSCSI VM kernel, right? So we select first and we select second. Okay, now in the static recovery, so please do not use dynamic recovery. Static recovery is really recommended. I will enter my target IP, so 192.168 in subnet 20, and that's 100, and that was the IQN and dot 2012 and 07 and target 0. Okay, that's the first target. I can copy this name also from my DSS GUI when I go to targets, and I select my first target, then I go to rename function, then on the rename function I see exactly how is the target name. That's the target name, and also I see it here, right? In the parentheses there is a alias name. Good. So now we add the first target. Now we add the second one, 192.168. The second one is 30. Okay, and that will be target 1. Great, so we have it. Let us rescan the storage. So we must see both disks here. Okay, I see the both disks already appear. Now we can format the disks. So I will add the storage, and we have the disk on LUN. So the first is a 100 gig disk. Okay, we can just keep this default. Hard disk is blank, so this will be formatted. I will say iSCSI, let's say 1, or I can put iSCSI 20 in subnet 20, right? Okay, we see in the recent tasks that this is still in progress, so it is formatting right now. After formatting, we can format the second one, but by meantime, when we are waiting, we can also add the iSCSI storage adapter settings on the second host. So I go to the second host, and okay, this one is already added here. Let me remove it. I add it one more time. So here I was putting the names of iSCSI 1 and SCSI 2. It could be also the same name, but it is like this. Okay, so SCSI 2. So I have the network configuration with port binding, then the static recovery 192.168, my target IP, of course, the first target IP. Then my target name is 0, and the second target 192.168.30.100, and the target name is target 1. That's it. We close it and we rescan. So we will see the same thing on the second host. Okay, let us come back to the first host. What's going on in the storage? So the first iSCSI disk is already there. We can already browse and explore. Let us add the second one. Okay, we select. Default settings is good. iSCSI, or we can put, let's say, 30. Okay, and formatting. So we see here in the that this is in the progress right now. So let us see what's going on the second host. So the first automatically appear here, right? So you don't need to enter everything on the second host in add storage. When you add on the first host, so the second cluster, the second host which belongs to this cluster must see this automatically. You see, by meantime, the second was added here. Okay, so now we have the storage, high available storage here. So we can copy a virtual machine. So I was already installing an Ubuntu server machine, so I can copy this to my iSCSI target. So it is copying the files of the virtual machine. once a machine is copied, I can add to the inventory and I can run these virtual machines already. So also optionally I can install such a virtual machine on my server. It takes some time to run and install this virtual machine, so by meantime I can already run some testing during I'm copying the virtual machine, right? So the very simple testing which I can do with my iSCSI active cluster is, let's say, moving activities. Okay, so now I see here that the resource pool on node A is active on local node, and the resource pool on node B is also so it is active on remote node. So because I'm on my node and I see that this resource on the second resource is not active here, but it's active on another node, right? And when I do to when I enter to the second machine, I will have an opposite situation. Okay, I'm on node B right now, and you see on node B resource pool is active on my local node, and the node A resource pool is active on my remote node because I'm on the second machine. I'm switching back to the first machine, and let us see what's going on when I will move the resources. So instead of failover failback button, now we have something like a move button. Okay, so the first one, it is I'm copying on this, I'm copying the virtual machine, and let me start the pings. Okay, I have it both pings, and what happened when I move, so I will do failover of the resource pool on the first resource pool from node A to node B. Okay, so I will show you the pings are working now. 2030, and now I'm click on the move button. Okay, so I'm moving. Okay, it is you see, I was losing the single ping here only because I'm moving the resource, the first resource, right? So now the situation changed. Now I have the node A activity on the remote node and the node B activity on the remote node. So both are active on the remote node, and this is really true, because if I go to second node and let's say check the status, I see both status are active here. And when I go to volume replication, and in volume replication I will see that both volumes are in source mode on the node B, on the second server, right? So we can try to move it back. So I can move back to the local node, or I can do some opposite action. So move to the local, the second one. So let us, I don't have traffic on the second one, but it is also good to test. So you see, I was losing the ping here, and now resources are moved to node A. The activity is moved to node A. So next thing, I can come back and move this back to the remote. So that's kind of failover, failback all the time. So move to remote node. Okay, so you see it is moving, and during moving I was also losing one ping. So the GUI has some delay. So now I'm back at home with the second resource, but I'm still not back at home with the first resource. Oh, I'm back at home because no, I'm on the remote node, so I can move to local. And I will lose some ping during the switch on the first target, so 192.168.20.100, the first virtual IP. And that's the case. And what's going on with the virtual machine, you see it is copying without any interruption, even I was moving resources there and back a few times for testing. Same or very similar thing happened when I'm just rebooting the machine. So here I can go to the, let's say, primary machine, to the node A machine, and I can go to shutdown, and I can reboot the machine while I'm copying the virtual machine, still copying, right? So I can click on the restart button, and now I will be restarting the first DSS machine. So this will be easy to notice because on the console it is showing already reboot, right? And the second machine, it is up and running, and the second machine will take over. So when I will try to refresh this, I will get timeout on the node A because node A is just rebooting. Okay, so GUI takes some time to show the timeout. Okay, it's timeout of course because it's not there, and second machine both is source right now, and when I go to failover I see it's running in degraded mode. I have ping nodes which are not reachable, the auxiliary patch are not reachable, and activity of both are in local mode. Okay, that was the, by meantime I was able to copy the virtual machines. So let me just add it to inventory. So I'm adding with the U64, that's okay. And I'm adding to this cluster. I can add, it doesn't matter on which node because both nodes are now available. And this is in the test cluster. Okay. So now I will have in my VMware a machine which is now belongs to cluster, right? So it's on the same indent as my hosts. So now I can start this machine. I can start, of course, on the first host, and I see that this is just a sorry. It is starting, okay. Some problem. I was having. The machine cannot start. Okay, vCenter was unable to find suitable host to power on the virtual machine. The reasons are below. Failed to find a host for powering on the virtual machine. Okay, so I have some bad configuration. I will probably need to go and check the cluster settings. Okay. Yes. Right. Okay, I have forgotten. Yeah, exactly. Thank you for the tip. I forgotten that this machine was used in testing in the past, and we were adding the hard disk to this virtual machine, right? So that was maybe the reason that the hard disk was missing, because we were deleting the hard disk. Okay. So now when it will be not the problem if I will installing this new from scratch, but of course I want to have some time saving. Okay, good. So now the machine is finally starting, and I can also make some final test. So I can maybe log in. Okay, we can make some program running. So this machine now is in so-called HA configuration, and let us see what's going on with our cluster, our iSCSI cluster. So the first DSS is already back up and running, and we will probably want to move the resources back to the node A. Because during rebooting everything was moved to node B. So now let us move to local. Okay, we are moving to local, and then we can see that our virtual machine during this operation works without any interruption. On the ping, which I'm pinging from the Windows, I see that it was some interruption on ping, but no interruption on the virtual machine, or no interruption on the ESXi side. So this is what we are expecting. And the last test, let me see if there are any questions. Oh, there is no question, so probably everything is maybe very complicated or very easy. But as I hope that the record will work, so maybe you can watch the video later on one more time in order to repeat the settings. So here, the last test which we are going to show for today is the VMware HA, means the machine is working on this host, so on the first host, and then we can reboot the first host and see that the machine will be starting later on the second host. But there is also one more test which we can see whether this works. We can try to change host and see whether I make the proper settings. So I can try to change to the second host, but you see there are some problems that on the host we have the CD-ROMs still installed, and this may cause the problem. So you can also go to the edit settings, and you can remove the CD-ROM, right? So now let me see if it is still. Okay, we can see if it works now. So I can try to, you can do change the data store, so between stores, and you can also move between hosts, so where the instance is now running. So now it was running on 50, we can try to move to 51, high priority, it is okay. So we can see that it will change to 51 when this is completed. Okay, so now we are on 51. We can try to move back to 50. Okay, that was the motion. If you have no motion, then you can you need to suspend or stop this virtual machine, and then you can move to another host. What is very important, I need to tell you, please never suspend the DSS virtual machine, because if you suspend this, another will take activity, and then back from suspend you will have the split brain. Once we will add the tools, we will disable this option, but today unfortunately it is still enabled, and you need to know that you cannot use suspend mode at all. Okay, and now the virtual machine is back in this host 50, so we can run the very last demo, which takes longer time, and I will not be able to show much more, because the servers are equipped with the RAID controller and the server BIOS, which is starting quite long, and then will be too long to wait. So I will go to the summary, and this just reboot button. Also, you will see that this management has no redundancy, because we have only 2 network cards, and VMware require some redundancy for the management network. So you will probably need at least 4 network cards to have everything configured properly on the VMware side. Okay, but anyway, it will still work with 2 cards. So reboot. After rebooting, I will still check the status of the cluster. The cluster is okay. The first is on local, second on remote. Everything works well. I will lose some ping nodes here, but I supposed to have the situation that the machine will be restarted on opposite side. So when I'm rebooting the host A, then of course the machine was running here, then this machine is losing the host. So in this case the machine also will be not able to work, because we didn't configure so-called fault tolerant. We just configure just HA. Okay, so the machine will be soon disappearing, and next point will be starting on second host. So the host is still there. Okay, but it is still there. It is still rebooting. Okay, I already see some problem that the machine is no more running. So soon I must have the first host, which will be not reachable. Okay, and I will have the similar problem with DSS, because the first DSS is running on the first machine. So you see the first DSS is no more available, and the second DSS is running in degraded mode, and resources after refreshing will be on the all will be on the local node, because they need to be taken over, right? So the host is no more responding, and my machine is started by meantime, so machine is ready to log. So I just enter the password, okay, and then I'm ready to work. So this HA from VMware is a just short interrupt, which is taking to reboot the virtual machine. So that's all for today, what I wanted to show to you. I would like to say thank you very much for staying with us so long, but it was a really quite big task, and I was not able to finish this within 1 hour. Even the few things were prepared already. So one more time, thank you very much, and then please join us for the next webinars soon. So thank you and bye bye.